Metal Gear Online 3. Many people have mixed feelings about it in its current state. Some of us see it as a blatant, poorly ripped off version of another more popular Western game. Others see nothing wrong with it and think it's fine as it is. Some just desire balance changes, while many feel it pales in front of its predecessors. Before I make any claim to how I personally feel about MGO3, let's take a deeper look at it as its own game. As of now, I'm speaking of version 1.0, so maybe by the time you see this review, they'll already fixed a lot of the major problems with the game. Let's start by talking about some of the in-game features it has, starting with the classes. This is the first time the series has used the class system. The caste system has been very prevalent throughout the series, in 3 scrub. The class system has 3 classes: the Enforcer, the Scout, and the Infiltrator. The Enforcer, which is played up to be the slow tank, and the beginner's choice is more slow than tank. In fact, it's so slow that you almost have no hope of catching up to an enemy that runs from you, and the only thing it tanks is explosive damage and non-lethal damage due to an equipable skill, which means they have to use up a skill slot to be able to have this tankiness. Their HP is supposed to be higher than the rest of the choices, but in reality it's barely higher than any other class, as using an M4 to kill them takes 5 bullets as opposed to the 4 bullets for all the other classes. 1 extra bullet for a really slow movement and low sprinting distance and speed. In fact, they're so slow at everything: full taunting, aiming a gun, reloading. Why does a heavy weapons expert take so long to aim weapons or reload a gun? Its good points are when it levels up later. It gets a nice large machine gun, an RPG, a class specific sleep grenade launcher, a class specific shield, plus the tank plus 2 skill, which takes up 2 to 4 skill slots and allows you to have extra protection against not only explosive weaponry, but more importantly non-lethal weapons like stun and sleep nades, tranq pistol, tranq sniper rifle, and the stun shotty. So this class starts off really annoying for you, but when you get them leveled up higher and they finally start shaping up into something a bit more tolerable. But they're still way too slow to justify the measly low HP increase they have. Hell, even the time it takes for them to ready their weapons, it takes forever with this class, which you'd think a heavy weapons expert wouldn't take forever to ready his weapon to shoot an enemy. On the downside, the sleep nade launcher, if you put an enemy to sleep and someone else kills them, you get no assist points for it. If they full taunt them, you get no assist points for it. You could single-handedly be the reason your team wins by stunning the entire enemy team and not get any credit for it by the game. They also said this class has the most stamina. That would be a lie. The Scout is made to be this expert sniper, or rather the only class that gets a sniper rifle, but the sniper aiming is currently ridiculous, almost like your character has Parkinson's. Even laying on the ground with skills that raise up the aiming doesn't do anything at all. You're better off using an assault rifle to snipe with than any of the sniper rifles you get in the beginning, as they're better in accuracy. Plus every class gets an assault rifle anyway, so you don't even need to be a scout to snipe with them. The big advantages this class has over the other classes is that it gets the night vision goggles, which is useful against anyone trying to use stealth except for in Cloak and Dagger. And more useful, their targeting with the int scope is by far the best out of any of the classes. You can look at a guy for about a second and a half and they'll be marked with if you have Intel Plus equipped, which is really beneficial for the entire team as everybody on your side sees them and you get assist points for when they're killed. Later in levels they get access to the Serval, which is an anti-material rifle, and even though it oddly takes 2 shots to kill an enemy most of the times with it, it will knock an enemy down, and there's little they can do after being hit with it, and it's semi-auto, so it shoots fast enough to be able to capitalize on it. However, trying to shoot without looking down the scope and hitting something that's right in front of you is stupidly hard. And the sniper still suffers from the shaking hands like your character just saw a ghost through the scope, but at least when you hit somebody, you know it, and it puts the fear in them quick. Oh, this class also gets access to an RPG. An RPG, the sniper class gets an RPG. The Infiltrator. The most hated and popular class in the game. It's marketed as for expert players, but it's probably the easiest class to do well with. Definitely the fastest class in the game, and it starts off being able to use stealth camo. Now stealth camo is different in this game than it ever was in MGO2, as you can still see people easily who have stealth on in this game. But of course, if they're in the shadows that have a lot of details, it can be somewhat hard to spot them at a glance. But then again, the same could be said if they weren't wearing stealth at all too. Though The stealth definitely keeps them undiscovered. Higher levels, they gain LMGs, a class-specific grenade launcher. They get access to CQC plus 3 skill, which allows them to disarm an opponent with CQC strike. That's a strike, not a slam. They also get the full time plus 3, which gives them the satisfying if able to pull off full time punch. However, the full time punch seems like you need a bit of pinpoint accuracy and luck. While normal CQC kind of homes in on the enemy, the full time punch doesn't really unless you have AA on. And even then, it doesn't quite snap to the enemy like CQC plus does. And if you have full time plus 3 equipped, waking up teammates can be frustrating, as your character will try to punch instead of kick them awake if you're trying to rush to them. But on the bright side, if you manage to get off the full time punch and they kill you, the person hit by the punch will still get full time, and generally when this happens, the enemy is too busy reloading their gun to help out their comrade who's flying up into the sky. But why is this class hated, you might ask? Well, it's all because of them pretty much being the best class in the game for the most part. Partial invisibility, they can run faster than any class, they can shoot you with their lethal weapons while invisible. Either they hate that so many people choose the Infiltrator Master Race, or they hate that they can be semi-invisible and use lethal weapons. When you start MGO, you're only able to use your avatar character that you made in the main game. He has Keith Sutherland's voice, so expect to hear a lot of him in MGO if you wish to have heard him more in the main. And after you level your avatar to 6, you're able to create 2 new characters, male or female. The codecs for them are humorous and a nice change of pace from Keither's voice. However, the created character works exactly like creating your avatar. No new features to speak of hairstyles, colors, placements of tattoos. All are very limited. Even with the clothes you're able to choose are limited. There's barely any diversity due to the fact that each class has a few pieces of clothing to choose from, most of which are only available for that class. So character customization is severely limited in this aspect. But at least the hats can be worn by all classes. Well, some of the hats. You have a lot of people running around looking exactly the same because of this. Now they're releasing new clothing items every week, it seems. However, these cost Mother Base coins, also called MB. You can get MB coins by either buying them with real world money or getting them through daily rewards on single player. Now the 2 hats they've released so far are worth about 300 MB apiece, which doesn't sound too bad except for the fact that most of the time you get from the daily rewards is 35 MB. And it seems to be random when they give this out. I've been collecting MB since the game came out and I only have 600 or so MB, and that was pretty much because they gave out a few 100 MB due to the daily rewards not working correctly in the beginning. So we briefly touched the classes. What about gameplay? How does the gameplay stand up as a game of its own? It's meh. It's not great, but there's a lot wrong with it too. The biggest issue is the CQC. You can literally CQC somebody and not even show up on their screen. And this isn't lag. This is actually programmed into the gameplay. The prompt to CQC somebody comes up and stays for a while, causing people to be force pulled to their opponents. It's commonplace to see a fast infiltrator run serpentine and force pull an enemy into a CQC slam, or hell, any class really, as the CQC is one of the most broken mechanics in this game, due to the outrageous reach it has. Wouldn't be so bad if there was such a thing as a telekinesis skill, or, spoilers, Mantis was a playable character in the online and he had the ability to CQC somebody from 9 meters away. But these are regular soldiers. Guns are ridiculous, as with the basic gun you can kill all classes with 4 shots except for the Enforcer, which can withstand a whopping 5th shot before he's killed. And all classes take 2 shots to the head before the headshot is registered, so aiming for the head isn't as viable as going for the body shot. And with the higher versions of the gun, they barely do any extra damage. Really, it comes down to how accurate the guns are and their damage output, but you can modify your weapons and even change the paint job to personalize them to a degree. Now, is there a lag? Yes, the game is P2P, or peer-to-peer after all. How this works is, say for instance I start a game, that makes me host. If you join me, then you're working off of my connection and not a server's. The downside to this is that some hosts can be really laggy, causing for really laggy games. But on the upside, there are no servers to close down. When you connect directly to the host, Not that auto match isn't run by the servers they have, and if they chose to close those servers down, it could be that you can't connect to new people outside of private matches. And there are already reports of people trying to glitch in this game, which isn't surprising in the least. The lag adds range to the already long CQC range, but sometimes it doesn't let you CQC them at all, and being shot at will sometimes die behind cover due to the latency. Sometimes you will shoot somebody and almost none of your bullets will register, and popping from behind cover always seems to make whoever's doing it teleport from the cover when they shoot. It's just bad programming. The mode for the game are Bounty Hunter, Cloak and Dagger, and Comm Control. Bounty Hunter plays like a traditional team deathmatch with a twist. The more you kill, the higher your bounty increases. Higher bounty players, if full time, will increase the number of tickets for the enemy team. If somebody with a bounty full times other people, they'll lose the bounty equal to the bounty of the enemy in process. This mode is pretty fun and a unique spin on an old classic. Cloak and Dagger plays like a mix of Team Sneak and Rescue from MGO2. Essentially the goals are this. On the attacker side, you have to grab a disc and bring it to a goal. The defender's job is to prevent this from happening. Attackers get infinite stealth camo that once somebody on the attacker side is hit, everybody loses their stealth for a few seconds, revealing the entire team until everything settles down, and then their stealth comes back. Attackers are also limited to only using non-lethal weapons such as tranq pistols, tranq snipers, sleep nades, flashes, eloks, and etc. Defending teams are limited to lethal weapons only. However, the biggest issue people have is that the defending team can use stealth gear as well if they're an infiltrator. Things can get confusing when both teams are running around semi-invisible. And my personal experience is that sometimes there's an issue when the attacking team gets a disc and they drop into the goal. I've been over there and had two different things happen where they dropped into the goal, I killed them, and I picked up the disc and it got sent right back to home base, and then nothing happened and it downloaded completely. So I'm not quite sure if this is a bug or if this is just part of the game. Comm Control plays like a base game mixed with King of the Hill. The goals of this game is if you're defending to make sure the other team doesn't decrease the percentage to 0% by keeping control of all three communication stations. And if you're attacking, you try to take those stations over and increase your percentage to 100% before time runs out. Pretty straightforward. All in all, based on this, the game is pretty broken. I give it a 3 out of 5 as a game of its own. If you can have fun with it, but there's so much BS to wade through that it won't be awesome. But there are more issues with this game. You see, there is a 3 after the title. This is the third installment in the series. While it adds many interesting and unique features, it left a lot, and I mean a lot, out from its predecessors. You see, when the very first MGO launched with Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater Subsistence, there were no big expectations other than how will they incorporate a stealth game into a multiplayer experience. And by the time MGO2 was announced for MGS4, Guns of the Patriots, MGO1 had long been closed. MGO2 seemed like a natural progression in both technology and gameplay. Only things in MGO1 that was missing in MGO2 was certain special characters, some of the maps, and tactical reloading by unequipping and re-equipping weapons to automatically have your weapon completely reloaded. But MGO2 had everything else that MGO1 had and added onto it. Now we are at MGO3. It was no surprise that MGO3 was coming. They announced MGS5 would have MGO3, so some people actually paid the $60 MGS5 cost just for MGO3. Others even waited for MGO3 to be up and running before buying the game at all. It wasn't like MGO3 was just some addition they added on later as a way of saying, here you guys go, I know we weren't expecting this, but here's a free online mode for you guys. It was announced as one of the selling points to MGS5, so like it or not, you actually paid for MGO3. Let me list for you everything that was in MGO2 that wasn't in MGO3, and the changes made and the mechanics that brought over. Hope you're sitting down. Host migration. Ever hate being in a match and doing really good, racking up the XP when all of a sudden you find yourself in free mode without all that XP you should have gotten? Did the host abort because he was on the losing team? Did his internet drop? Who cares? The bigger question is, why hasn't host migration been a part of MGO3 when it was in MGO2 and MGO1? Text chat and clans. So, the official response as to why text chat and clans are not included in this game is nobody used them. Yes, that's the official reason why text chat and clans are not in MGO3. That just shows how much the team that created MGO3 knew about MGO2, or MGO1 for that matter. How many friends have you made in MGO3? I'm going to assume that number is pretty low. In MGO2, new clans popped up every few seconds. The text chat was constantly used. In fact, we played player-made game modes that was actually pretty good and interesting and could only be organized through text chat. SWAT, zombie, prison, fight clubs, and skill training rooms, which also lead me to the next item on the list. Making custom name rooms. In MGO3, you can search for games to connect to manually. In MGO2, you did the exact same thing. People could name the room how they saw fit to let you know ahead of time the room was about. Like, no shirt, no shoe, knives only. RPG Havoc. Noobs Anonymous, etc., etc. You won't see rooms like this in MGO3 because the only thing you'll see is the mission type, and map name, and the names of the people in the room. Deep character customization. You used to be able to wear glasses on top of balaclavas, run around shirtless with bulletproof vests, multiple accessories at one time. It was rare to see two people that looked similar, that wasn't trying to look like a ninja. Preset camo for maps. You could actually have certain pre-made outfits per maps. On a sandy looking map, well, you got your tan colored tan clothes to blend in better. On a mostly grassy map, you had leaf pattern color camos that would equip automatically. You could set this up how you saw fit and even chose to wear what you were currently wearing instead of equipping to your preset if you wanted to. Stamina and health bars. In MGO3, you regenerate health, which means you have no idea how close to death you are. And if you get stunned, you have no idea if the buttons you're pressing are doing much of anything. The only indicator you have is that your eyes are opening up, but any button you press opens up your eyes a little bit. So there's no way of telling if what you're doing is even effective. You could play dead. This would help so many times. Players would often think you were dead body and leave you alone, leaving themselves up to attack if they didn't check the dead bodies, but you can't do that in MGO3. You could actually hide in a box. Empty boxes were all over the maps, so you could actually get away with hiding into a box, and it wouldn't look out of place because they were all over the map. You could hold people up in Team Sneak. In MGO3's Cloak and Dagger is similar to Team Sneak, but in MGO2's Team Sneak, if you were on the attacking team and you were in stealth, you could actually go behind the enemy and point your gun to his head at close range, and you would tell them to freeze, and they would have no choice but to stand there like that. At that point, he was at your mercy. He couldn't contact his friends, but they could see him if they linked up with him. However, you can't hold anybody up in this game. Knives. Sure, you can slit a throat in MGO3, and you needed a skill to slit a throat in MGO2, but at MGO2, you have a knife that you could equip and stab people with it. In MGO3, you only use your knife to slit throats. Enemy spotted. In MGO2, when you would be in first person view and use your codec, that would tell the team that you spotted an enemy, a red exclamation mark would appear on the map where you saw the enemy, letting your team know exactly where it was you spotted the enemy at. Sleep talk. You could use your codec while asleep or stunned in MGO2. You would mumble, but it had uses, especially in Team Sneak, to notify your team if any enemies were near you. Ghost. In MGO1 and MGO2, if you played a match that only granted you one life per player, like Rescue, Team Sneak, When you died, you'd become a ghost, allowing you to run around haunting your killers, playing pranks, and not just be bored with the remainder of the match if the game's not going very well. And of course, you could turn this option off if you didn't like it. Stealth camo meant you were actually invisible. In MGO2, during Team Sneak, sneaking side stealth camo would render them completely invisible except for their weapons and their shadows. You run around completely invisible, have your shadows, and your guns and your knives completely visible. Unless you were in the shady side, then they couldn't see your shadow at all. And while in C&D and Infiltrators and MGO3, they still have stealth camo, but you see the outline. It's much easier to spot someone in stealth camo now than it used to be. Teamwork to new heights. In MGO2, at certain locations you could help teammates reach higher points in the map by giving them a boost up, and in return, they could also pull you up to that point once they got there. Codecs have more variety. In MGO2, there are a lot of things you could do with your codec, even some commands that you could only achieve by typing in the commands, like making a question mark appear over your head, humming a tune, laughing. Grenade drop. In MGO2, if you readied a grenade to throw it, and someone CQC'd you or killed you, you'd drop the live grenade and it would go off. Grenade throw on ladders. In MGO2, you could throw a grenade while on a ladder in case anybody left traps at the top for you, or was waiting up there to stab you as soon as you made it to the top. Friendly fire. Well, there still exists friendly fire in MGO3, extremely situational. And in MGO2, it was an option to be turned on or off as you saw fit, unless you were playing tournament. CQC. In MGO2, if you wanted to CQC somebody, you had to be realistically close to them. You couldn't CQC somebody from 4 meters away. And when you did CQC somebody, the animation was much faster than it is in MGO3, except for maybe the sucker punch that you could. Another CQC trick that was left out was that you could lay them on the ground while choking them to help hide you behind cover, if available. CQC Masters. In MGO2, you had to have CQC-X to instantly knock out an enemy with a CQC slam. Also notably, if you had CQC-X, it would take up all of your skill slots, and anyone who tried to CQC you that didn't have CQC-X equipped themselves would get countered by you. So that would turn their CQC against them, slamming them, knocking them out instantly. On top of which, if you CQC'd somebody, you instantly disarm them and their weapon was dropped to the ground. Smoke grenades. Well, smoke grenades are in MGO3. They had added features in MGO2. If anyone was caught in the beginning of the smoke, they would have a short coughing fit, but all movement would be totally stopped for that brief time. Smoke that changed pitch. In MGO2, there was colored smoke that changed the pitch of your codec. Aside from changing your codec's pitch higher to lower, it would act as a regular smoke grenade. Drum can. In MGO2, there was a drum can you could find, roll around in, knock out opponents, and if you rolled too long, you get dizzy and throw up, decreasing your stamina bar, making it easier for players to knock you out. Animal ranks. Depending on how well you did, if you favored a game type more than others, or if you favored a weapon, you would be awarded with an animal rank. There was even one for killing teammates, which would allow people to instantly know what kind of person they were dealing with if they had that rank. Friend search. You could search matches specifically for friends and join them if there was room. Block. You could block players you didn't like, or troublemakers who would constantly ruin games by either glitching or trolling. This would make it so that in the future, if you hosted, these people they'd be denied access of joining your game. Training mode. While MGO3 has free mode that allows players to shoot against stationary objects in Jade Forest, but in MGO2, you would have stationary targets and mobile targets in Bloodbath. Boot camp. MGO2 had a combat training option as well. You would have the ability to join instructor rooms. You would be giving the skill set the instructor equips at the beginning, and if the instructor chose after you spend enough time, he would graduate you. And on top of that, the instructor rooms would also be able to have a indefinite team deathmatch, meaning it would go as long as the instructor wanted it to. It was never ending. And at the end, if you graduated, you got the instructor skill. And the instructor skill made it where that everybody could see you on the map, which served as distraction purposes a lot of times. And on top of that, you could also annoy the other team by bombarding them with Kodak messages. FPV dodge. In MGO2, if you were in FPV, you could still perform actions such as rolling. MGO3 doesn't allow you to dodge while using the binoculars. Worm. In MGO2, when playing dead, you could inch slowly forward while looking funny. This was incredibly silent. Mission types. In MGO3, there's only 3 bounty hunters plus a dagger con control, which I explained them earlier. But in MGO2, you had team deathmatch, team sneak, stealth deathmatch, sneak, race, capture, rescue, training, boot camp training. And if you want to add player-made game modes, you had SWAT, zombie, prison, fight clubs, and I'm sure I'm forgetting more. Granted, MGO3 is still fresh and may get more modes later. Moving enemies. In MGO2, you could pick enemies up and move them yourself. MGO3 doesn't offer this. Even though it's in single player mode that you can pick up enemies, they don't give you this option in multiplayer, and it's confusing why they wouldn't. Taking weapons. In MGO2, you could take out an enemy weapon by CQCX, which I explained earlier. But also, if you knocked them or stunned them out and they laid on the ground, you could pick them up and drop them, and that would cause them to drop their weapons equipped already. So you didn't need CQCX alone to be able to drop their weapons. However, in MGO3, you need CQC plus 3 equipped, and it can only be done by CQC strike. Slamming them will not cause them to drop their weapon. Guns had settings on them. They had settings on them to where you could change the rate of fire. Burst fire, single shot, or automatic. This would actually come in handy depending on your playstyle, if you're a run and gun, or if you actually took time to line up your shot. Drebin points. In MGO2, if you had a match that had Drebin points enabled, you unlocked better weapons by doing better in a match, while in MGO3, you were able to use better weapons by leveling your character. Skill progression. MGO3 has you level your character with specific classes, while MGO2 had you level up specific skills. You were able to equip any skill you liked in MGO2 as long as it didn't exceed the 4 skill slots, and you personally trained in that skill, while in MGO3 your selection is limited to your class's skill group, and different skills are awarded to you as you level up your character. MGO3 still adheres to the 4 skill slot mechanic, but each class also has passive skills as well. Chaffs. Chaff grenades in MGO1 and MGO2 allowed you to halt communications completely. Your team wouldn't be able to communicate, but neither would the enemies. This would stop text chat, voice chat in-game, as well as make the map unusable. MGO3 doesn't have chaffs. It doesn't even have the red mist from the single campaign to allow you to stop people on walker gears, which would probably be good as a smoke grenade. Eloques. In MGO2, Eloques didn't show the radius to the enemy, but in MGO3, if an enemy throws an Eloque, you see exactly how far the radius is of the Eloque. And the map difference between MGO3 and MGO2 also make a big difference. In MGO2, the Eloks were a bit more effective because the maps were a bit more smaller, and there's nothing wrong with that. And in MGO3, the Eloks are still pretty effective, but they don't cover as much ground because of how big the maps are, and that's okay too. But those are the differences. Garbage. In MGO2, you had garbage cans in certain maps that you could hide in. And while they were pretty situational, you could do it at any point you wanted to, and you could actually pull off hiding from the enemy and getting off a sneak attack from them. And while the garbage cans are in the single campaign of Metal Gear Solid 5, they're not in MGO3. Survival and tournament. Survival and tournament were staples of MGO2. While they didn't come out as soon as MGO2 came out, they did come out later, and they gave a big reason for playing, because that was where you could win all of your points that you could buy your accessories for. And if you did tournament, if you won the tournament, you got a special unique color beret. If you came in second, you got a special unique color fleece. And they were cool to show off. And in fact, they had one tournament where people won gas masks. White gas masks was, I believe, what they won. And in this game, in MGO3, they've completely announced that they will not do tournaments or survivals. How this game can be considered a competitive game by them and not have any competitive elements to it is beyond me. And I'm sure there's more that I can't think of that is missing from MGO3 that was in MGO2. If I were to give a rating for it as part of a series as the game is now, 2 out of 5, and that's being generous. It's as if the people who made MGO3 never played MGO2. No one used text chat or clans, really. And that stupid range on the CQC, it's like they watched videos of MGO2 on the web, saw the glitcher videos, and thought, oh, that must be how the game's played. Better give them 9-foot CQC ranges. And a class system? Okay, I see what they were trying to do, but really it's executed terribly. Since they wanted a class system and added prestige, ascension into the game, what they should have done is where you choose one of the 3 classes for your character. You level up through the perk tree of that class, and then when you ascend, you get to start over, but this time you go down one of the other 2 perk trees, keeping all the perks from the last one. So by the time you hit the 3rd ascension, you feel like you're rewarded with something more than a crappy outfit you can't even mix and match with, so you look like everybody else with a slight color difference, and that would open up a lot more customization for the characters outside of clothes. Now, awarding extra load slots is fine, but really, how many people use more than 3 preset loadout slots? But what about balancing, you might ask? Well, tie the health increase the Enforcer gets with the tank skill with Tank 1, given that laughable health and stamina boost they start out with, and Tank 3 given an actually useful amount of health and stamina boost, and make the tank skills decrease movement speed by increasing weight. They could do this by an equipable item called body armor or something, and making it really heavy. Also, make it to where how slow you are is depending on how much weight you have, and don't tie the speed of aiming a gun and shooting and the speed of reloading with weight. And make how fast someone does something tie in with a skill like full-taunting someone faster with the full-taunt plus skill. For stealth users of the game, C&D, let the attackers be completely invisible except for their weapons, and make the stealth camo for the attacker different than the regular infiltrators you can use at the very least. For the infiltrators, have different levels of stealth camo, decide how transparent they are, with +3 behaving exactly how it does currently. For scouts, make the anti-material rifle kill in one shot, except anyone who has tank +3. Decrease the damn sway when laying down. With sniper +3 and laying down, it better be like you pop 50 diazepam, and just put the sway at the very minimum. make it still have a sway, but have it be a minute sway if you have all these aiming bonuses to the sniper rifle while laying down. But won't that make Class X too OP? No, it wouldn't. Why? Because this way, skills would be able to tactically use to counter other skills. You can't have NVG +3 to see someone with stealth +3 if you're going to use the Serval and sniper +3. Tanks can't run around invisible if they want to be able to actually take hits from the enemy effectively. But how slow they move would open them up for speedier characters to run behind them and CQC them within a respectable distance. Fixing the CQC range would help the balance of the game as well. Invincibility frames. Now when you first spawn, you're slightly transparent. You start off being invincible until you aim a gun, and then you can take damage. And that's all fine, that's all well when you spawn in your home base, or if you're spawning in comm control and you spawn on A, B, or C. However, when you spawn and teleport to your buddy, even through wormhole, you have these iframes, and no one can do any damage to you. They can hit you all they want to, but it won't hurt you. And oftentimes when they hit you, this big ugly red X pops on the screen. It makes no sense for anybody to be able to teleport to their buddy in the middle of a firefight and for the enemy not to be able to kill them when they're not on their base. GP. The GP that you can win from matches is fairly low. You get 10 if you lose, 20 if you win. Unless you're auto matching, it's a bit more tolerable. You get 50 if you lose, 100 if you win. However, if you ascend your character, the first ascension gets you 10,000 GP, second is 30,000 GP, and then the last is 50,000 GP, which is pretty nice.